Hi, I'm Susan Kennedy of Pretty Peaceful, and we're out here in a gorgeous snowstorm in the San Juan Mountains of Southwest Colorado, so I could show you the Let It Fly blanket that I just finished a few minutes ago. I strapped my snowshoes on, came right out here with my dog by my side, Rosie, as always. I'm sure she'll make her way across the screen here in a minute. So the Let It Fly blanket is a beginner crochet blanket, easy blanket, designed for 4 cakes of Lion Brand Mandala yarn. I used 4 cakes in the colorway Gnome, everybody's favorite. All matching cakes, but you don't have to use matching cakes. You could use 2 cakes of one colorway. Here I have Fairy, and 2 cakes of another colorway, like this Genie here. And your blanket won't be symmetrical, but really, we're using cakes doubled for this, two cakes at a time. So as long as you have 2 cakes of one color, there she goes, then you can make this blanket. So 4 cakes total of Lion Brand Mandala yarn. Each cake is 590 yards or 540 meters. And I used a 8mm hook for this because we're using the yarn 2 strands held together as if they were one. And the stitch is single crochet, all single crochet, 100 stitches per row. So using the yarn doubled, it does 2 things. First of all, it works up very fast. I started this one yesterday at about 4 o'clock, and I just finished it today. It's hard to tell what time it is. I'm guessing 1 o'clock because these storm clouds are kind of covering up the sun today. But a pretty quick blanket, so if you're a new crocheter, it might take you maybe a week, or if you don't have much time to crochet every day. If you're an experienced crocheter, this is kind of one of those easy projects where you can take a break from your more complicated thing and just instant gratification on this one. So with 2 strands held together in the 8mm hook, the fabric is kind of thick. You can see it still has a good drape, but it's got like a nice squishy plushness to it, so that if you're laying a baby down on it, and this is a good size for a baby blanket, this is 40 inches square, then it gives them a little padding. So this is a good blanket to have around in the car, for like diaper changes, emergency diaper changes, or just kind of on the go, or really just at your house. Throw it down on the floor and put your baby down if you need to. So I did not cut out any colors of this. The reason it's called Let It Fly is really once you get started, you can just let your hook fly and don't worry about cutting the colors or controlling the colors. In the tutorial video that comes right after this, I will show you how to get this gradient. So make it symmetrical, and how to kind of work with the cakes so that it's most of the time the colors are lining up, but sometimes they're not. But that's the beauty of this blanket. It really helps blend the gradient using 2 cakes at a time. So there aren't any harsh transitions, which I really like. So this is 4 cake blanket. If you want to keep going, you can add 2 more cakes onto this. I made one with troll like that I'll try to put a picture up in the next few minutes of the video here so you can see that. And if you add those extra 2 cakes for 6 cakes total, that's a really good, adult size throw blanket. So thanks for watching and joining me in this pretty storm here, to give you this idea for a 4 cake easy mandala blanket. And keep watching. I'll show you how to get started and how to get your cakes ready. Hi, I'm Susan Kennedy of Pretty Peaceful, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Let It Fly Mandala blanket. This is a easy blanket, and the reason I named it Let It Fly is because it is really fast. You can really let your hook fly and get this blanket done. I'm not sure how fast, but I think I could get this done in like a weekend, a couple hours of crocheting. So for this blanket, you will need 4 cakes of mandala. Mandala yarn is a DK weight, kind of gradient cake yarn. It's light, category 3. And it recommends a 5mm hook, but because in this blanket we're using the yarn held doubled, we're going to use 2 cakes at once. I'm using an 8mm hook, which is a USL 11. So the beauty of this blanket is it's a very simple stitch that it's just all single crochet. with a doubled yarn and this big hook. And that does two things. It makes the gradient really smooth and beautiful when the two strands of yarn blend together. And then using this big hook with single crochet stitch really makes it like lofty, almost like a waffle stitch, really puffy and light. It's warm. So perfect for a baby blanket. It'll make a beautiful baby photo backdrop. I used this color for a baby blanket that my friends used for their newborn photos, and that's just like the best compliment ever for when you give someone a baby blanket, that they'd use it in their newborn photography. So I'm using the colorway Gnome, and I am using 4 cakes of mandala yarn, which is about 2,360 yards or 2,160 meters. And this will make about a 39 by 39 inch blanket, square. Could be 40 by 40 square if your tension is more loose. And that's about 99 or 100 centimeters square. If you want to keep going, you can add 2 more cakes to make a longer blanket that's about 58 inches long. And that's a good size for like a couch throw or a car blanket or a child's blanket, or like a small adult throw. So part of the blanket here, we never know, like we want the gradient to match. It's kind of tricky sometimes to figure out where to cut the cake or where to start. So we're not going to cut all the colors out of the cakes, but we are going to make 1 snip per cake to get the gradient rainbow to kind of line up for us. I want the blanket to be square and I want it to be symmetrical. So I want to start with this darkest purple at the ends of the blanket and then work up through this yellow. So I'm going to start with these 2 cakes because they kind of look similar, and I'll show you how I'm going to prepare these to work with 2 at a time. I always find it easier to take the label off before I cut them. And I'm going to cut right at the junction where this dark purple turns into kind of the lighter purple. I want to start with the darkest colors on the edges of the blanket. It's just a personal preference, but to me, I like the look. So we're going to try to find right where this purple turns to that kind of green color, the transition here. And I'm going to snip right here. And I'm going to set aside this part of the cake for later. So I'm going to start pulling yarn here at the dark purple. I'm going to go work all the way till this cake runs out. And then I'm going to pick up this cake at the orange to kind of keep going with the colors and work till this cake runs out. So, and then I will attach the other 2 cakes. Let's prepare this cake the same way. I want to start at that dark purple. So I'm going to kind of dig around and see if I can find the junction between the dark purple and that kind of more greenish color. And this kind of weird green is what's going to be right in the middle of the blanket. Hopefully it turns out cool. Give the bright colors some contrast. So we're going to start working with 2 yarns together. I'm going to hold them together just as if they were 1 yarn. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. We'll set these aside for later. And get a close-up view of how we're going to start. So this is a single crochet stitch blanket. It's 100 stitches wide. So we're going to start by making a slip knot and putting it on our hook. One little tip that I like to use for when you're working with 2 balls at once. And a lot of times if you just pull on the yarn, they'll just roll around and kind of tangle a little bit. What I like to do is put one of the balls of yarn up on the couch next to me, and I like to put one ball of yarn down on the floor. And that way they don't wind around each other and get tangled up. You could put one in a basket. Sometimes if I put my yarn on the floor, I put it in a basket first just because my floors aren't that clean. But I'm going to show you how to start this blanket using a technique called foundation single crochet. If you would rather just chain 102 stitches and then single crochet, chain 101, chain 101 stitches and then single crochet into the second chain from the hook and all the chains across. So you'd have 100 single crochet stitches total. I'm going to show you a different way. It's called foundation single crochet. So we're going to start with a chain 2. And this technique it makes the row of chains and the row of single crochet stitches at the same time. And I find it a lot easier to count. So we chain 2 and we're going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook, which is that slip knot that we just made. So I'm going to insert my hook into that chain, yarn over, grab that yarn, pull it through the stitch. Let's see, let me start over. I'm going to single crochet into that. Just going to go under 2 loops, any 2 loops, doesn't matter. Grab the yarn, pull it through. Chain 1, that's the part that's a little different, and I like to pinch that chain right away, and then finish that single crochet stitch. Now we're going to work into that chain that we just made, that we pinched. We're going to insert the hook into that chain. So when you go under it, because we're doubling the yarn, you're going under a V, but it's kind of a doubled V here. So you'll be going under 4 strands of yarn. Chain 1. Pinch it, and then finish that single crochet stitch. So we're going to insert our hook into the chain 1, pull the yarn through, chain 1, and then yarn over and pull it through. So we've got 1, 2, 3 foundation single crochet stitches there. So let's keep going until we get to 100. Going to go under that chain. This does take a little time. You know, we got the yarn doubled. This is the hardest part of the whole blanket. If we can get through this first row, you can really let it fly after that. And if this isn't working for you, feel free to just go back to regular chains. Chain 101 and single crochet in the second chain from the hook and all chains across. And you should have 100 single crochet stitches all together. This gnome colorway of the mandala yarn, this was the first one that caught my eye whenever I saw mandala yarn come out a few years ago. I live in a really remote area here in Southwest Colorado, and it's kind of a yarn desert. We had one yarn store in town, and sadly it closed. So the only yarn option is at Walmart, and I was shopping there and just turned the corner and saw the yarn. I was like, these beautiful yarn cakes. I mean, they're just gorgeous. This rainbow, it's like amazing. And I had wanted a yarn where I could really do like rainbow colors without having to buy a million little balls of yarn. So I was hooked immediately, even though it didn't work with gnome right away. I grabbed centaur, which is one of my other favorite colorways of mandala yarn, which really matches my home's color scheme here. It's kind of earthy colors. We're here in the Southwest, a lot of kind of terracotta, and my living room's kind of a ivory, Navajo white kind of color. So this rainbow gnome, I love it, and I think this is going to be a baby blanket for a friend having a second baby coming. So it works with any mandala yarn, and you don't necessarily have to get matching cakes. I made this blanket before in Troll. I used 6 cakes of Troll to make a blanket. I'll see if I can add a picture here to show you the last one I made. And sometimes the cakes lined up and sometimes they didn't. And that's okay. That's part of the beauty of this blanket. And when you're working with 2 strands of yarn at once, it really blends. Sometimes, you know, if you're looking at it up close while you're crocheting, you're like, is this going to look great? You take a step back and it almost always does. I love mandala yarn for that reason. So you can use any cakes, use different cakes, use mandala corns, anything you like. So I'm going to pretend we got to the end of the 100 stitches here, and I'm going to show you how to count these foundation single crochet stitches. I usually like to count them by the little V's on top of the stitch here. Each one of these little V's is a stitch. I always ignore that starting chain 2 that started the foundation single crochet row. So this would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So you keep going till you have 100. And when you're done, how you work into this row is you flip it over. And now it's just like working into a regular single crochet row. So for row 2 of this blanket, and every single other row, we're going to chain 1. And that does not count as a stitch. We just ignore the chain 1. And we're going to crochet, single crochet into each stitch. 1 single crochet into each stitch. So we'll have 100 stitches per row. And you can make this blanket as wide as you want. You could do any number of stitches per row because it's really just all single crochet. So we single crochet into each stitch. And now it's a lot easier. We have this bigger hole to work into. It's not like the chain or the foundation single crochet. Now is when you can really speed it up and start going fast to get to the end of your row. And this blanket really stretches out, like because it is kind of thick and fluffy. You can see how thick this fabric is. If you feel like it's a little bit too tight, you can always go up a hook to about 9mm or 10mm hook. And if it's feeling too loose for you, feel free to go down to a 6.5mm hook. It's really personal preference. But to me, this will make a baby blanket that has enough loft so that the baby can like lay on it, play on it, get his diaper changed or her diaper changed on it, and be comfy and have kind of a little padding. And the last one of these I ended up making, I made 4 cakes and then I added 2 more to make it a little longer. And I gifted it to some little girls who just loved it. I should probably send them another one too. Since I think they were maybe fighting over it. So I got to the end of the row, and I'll show you again how I start a row. Chain 1, and then just single crochet into each stitch. And that's pretty much it. It's a very simple blanket. The trick is really in getting the gradient down right. So I'm going to keep working until I get to the ends of these skeins. And then I'm going to work from the dark purple to the hot pink. And then I'm going to start here. I notice these are a little different. This one kind of ends at hot pink. This one's got a little bit of the yellow in the inside. So I think this one matches with this one. And this one matches with this one. So I'm going to work to the hot pink here. Work to the end of this one. Attach this next cake. And work all the way to this kind of purpley green part in the center. And then when I join the next 2 cakes, I'm going to start at that purpley green part in the center and then use up the rest of the cake and work back out to the dark purple. So it'll be easier on this cake. We're going to kind of join at this. I'm going to cut right at the dark purple again to start the second half of the blanket. Cut at that same border because you want the blanket to be symmetrical. You want it to end where it began. So here's that junction between the dark purple and the green. I'm going to cut here. We're going to save the dark purple for the end, absolute outer edge of the blanket. And when I finish the center of this, I'm going to attach it to the same color again, work out to that bright green. And then this cake will end up being worked from the inside to the outside to end on that dark purple, along with its little buddy who will be doubled up. So I hope that makes sense. Basically, whatever color you end on with your first pair of cakes, that's where you want to start for the second pair of cakes. And you want to just reverse the color order back on out. So you only have to cut one time per cake. And just pull from the appropriate end, either the inside or the outside. And it's going to depend on which way your cakes are wound, but it does help when you're at the store if you pick out cakes that all are wound the same way. That'll make things very much easier to figure out how the gradient goes. So I hope you make your Let It Fly blanket, and I hope you love it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.